Now, next month, another delegation of Australian MPs will head to Taiwan. It's an unofficial delegation, but China will be watching closely. It comes at a time when Australia is trying to stabilise relations with Beijing and just months away from Taiwan's presidential election. Well, Douglas Zhu has recently been appointed Taiwan's chief representative to Australia, and he joins me now in the studio. Thank you so much for coming in tonight.
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity.
Great to have you here. Now, firstly, you're the chief representative to Australia, not the ambassador. Can you explain to our audiences what that role entails?
Well, basically, I'm here to represent in Taiwan, Taiwanese government and Taiwanese people to make sure that the bilateral relations between Taiwan and Australia keep on moving forward. Yeah, and you probably know that Australia is now the largest LNG provider to Taiwan, and Taiwan is the fifth largest trading partner of Australia. So I think there are a lot of room for us to explore all the opportunities out there.
Indeed, trade is immensely important between our economies. But firstly, let's just talk about direct ties, relations between Australia and Beijing as they stabilise, as the trade ties stabilise. How do you think this will impact Canberra's ties with Taiwan?
Well, interestingly, in my previous job, many people ask me the similar questions, asking me if when the United States improve their relation with China, it's going to hurt the United States relation with Taiwan. But honestly, in the past few years, we found that these two sets of relationships is not that correlated. Actually, it can be improved at the same time. So I think, well, since Australia has your own one China policy, but perhaps many of you doesn't know that this one China policy carry the different implication or definition of the one China principle that PRC claims. So I believe that we will find the opportunities and flexibilities to work together.
Well, let's talk about trade then. It is a very important issue, and Taiwan has been pressing for entry to the CPTPP trade bloc for some time now. Australia has not yet endorsed this. Is this something you'll be pressing for when you meet with Australian officials and politicians while you're here?
Well, it certainly is one of the top priority for Taiwanese government right now. You probably know that starting from 2021, we submit our applications to the CPTPP and want to be a member of that. It has been a long journey, actually. We've been, well, reaching out a lot to the incumbent or current CPTPP member state to brief them what efforts Taiwan has done over the years to making the new legislation to update our regulation domestically so that we can fulfill the commitment under the CPTPP. And I think that, well, most of the CPTPP members, they just conclude the UK accession. And I understand that there are still, well, discussions.
That took quite a number of years as well, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that they're still discussing how to take the next round of application and still have no conclusion yet. But I think my role here is to make sure that we want all the CPTPP members to consider next application based on the commitment, based on the ability of a applicant's ability to fulfill the commitment under the CPTPP instead of any political consideration. After all, CPTPP is a economic and trade mechanism, not a political mechanism.
Yeah. Well, Taiwan has also been pressing Australia to begin negotiations on a free trade agreement. Australia has yet to move on this. There's been very little movement. Is this a source of frustration for Taiwan?
Well, you know that Taiwan has carried this reputation. We've been very patient.
Yes, very patient.
So I think that, well, we will use the same approach, let them know the merit of this bilateral relations, and let Australian government understand the bilateral partnership on the trade front is really solid. And if there is a trade agreement out there, of course, that will safeguard the future business opportunity for both sides.
What further developments would you like to see from the Australian side?
Well, I think that right now we saw the critical mineral is very important to Taiwan because you know that every country is, in the past few years we faced the economic coercion, we suffer this disruption of the global supply chains. So everybody will try to find a new partners to work together on those to address that global supply chain issue, and critical mineral is certainly an issue. I think that will be maybe a good opportunity for Taiwan and Australia to look further.
Yeah. Well, next month, another Australian parliamentary delegation will be heading to Taiwan. Do you anticipate that they'll get meetings with President Tsai Ing-wen and other Taiwanese senior officials? And what do you think will top the agenda?
Well, I think we treat all the foreign guests with the same manners. Based on their request, we will arrange the meeting they would like. And if the president's schedule is allowed, or any other senior official schedule is allowed, we're definitely going to arrange that. After all, I think this kind of delegation's visit is quite meaningful for the bilateral relations. And it is also the purpose for this kind of visit. So we want to facilitate all kinds of meetings to make good use of their visit there and come back with a good impression and come back with more suggestions about this bilateral relations.
Well, it is President Tsai Ing-wen's last term. Next year we're expecting a pivotal election in January, another presidential election. How do you think that will play out, and could it be a catalyst for potential conflict with Beijing?
Well, I think that in democracies, if I can have a crystal ball here and tell you what is going to happen, I'm lying to you. So Taiwan is a full-fledged democracy, and until a few hours ago, I thought it was only three-way election, yes. And now it's become the four-way election. So it can, be very unpredictable. However, I think that for most of the Taiwanese people, what we have in mind, what we care most about is the economic and national security, foreign relations, our cross-strait relations, among others. And I think those will be the issue that has been discussed in the upcoming election. Well,
the current front-runner, Taiwan's Vice President William Lai, has accused Beijing of meddling in the election process. What do you have to say about that?
Well, that is the fact, actually. If you look into those track records, along the way, since 1996, we have the first presidential election. We've been coerced in different way. Taiwanese voter has been like warning a possible consequence if they choose the wrong person. However, every now and every time during the election, Taiwanese people, Taiwanese voter, use their vote to show to the bullies that, this is our election, this is our democracy. So I trust that in next round of our presidential election, Taiwanese voter will also conduct wisdom, use our vote to show that we cherish the fruit of our democracy.
Will there be any action taken over this alleged meddling in the election?
Well, this you never know, but I think that we already saw that in the past few months there are misinformation or disinformation operation inside Taiwan, or spreading around conspiracies on certain issues. So I think it's already going on, and I expect that in the next few months they're going to have more to be seen. However, if it will come to a real conflict, we don't know yet, but we're definitely going to prepare for any worst scenario.
And if it does come to a conflict, what support would Taiwan expect from countries such as Australia?
Well, I think that with regard to this issue, it is our principle that it is Taiwan's national security. So it is our responsibility. I think over the years, we show the willingness to defend ourselves. One very obvious gesture is that we just announced next year's budget. And among others, the defense budget actually increased to the level almost 3% of our GDP. So that is definitely a gesture that we are willing to defend ourselves, and also we are taking the real action to show that we care about our national security.
What about the US? What support can Taiwan expect from Washington? You spent a lot of time there, so you'd have a lot of experience in that area.
Yes. Well, United States in the past few years has been helping Taiwan to beef up our asymmetric warfare by providing those defensive weapons under the commitment under the Taiwan Relations Act of 1979. And you saw not only the Biden administration, but the US Congress also trying to pass all the measurement or creative measurement to help Taiwan to beef up our defense capability. Other than that, you notice that last year, my government decided to extend the military conscription to 1 year. And the United States is also helping us to, polish or to better our military training, make sure that all the soldiers or reserve force all got good training they need. And on the other hand, also they are helping us with cybersecurity, the critical infrastructure resilience. Those are the important things for Taiwan.
What do most Taiwanese think of this? What does the electorate feel?
About
this conscription and the relations with the US?
Yes, well, I think that with regard to the threat and the extended of the conscription, let me give you an example. My son is at the age of 19. He is about to, face this military service issue. And I chat with him about this issue. He shared with me, of course, he has a lot of complaint about it because after all, in the past it's only 4 months, but now it's going to be 1 year. However, he also thought that this is Taiwan, this is his country. He has to do what he needs to do to defend Taiwan's security. So I think that is general public's, perception about this threat we are facing. Yeah.
Just lastly, speaking of threats that Taiwan is facing, what are its concerns about China working with Pacific nations to build confidence, build business ties, and build influence in the region?
Yeah, well, you probably know that Taiwan has 4 diplomatic allies in the Pacific. And over the years, we've been working with them to do some projects that can directly benefit the people on the island. And because it was transparent, it was, benefit directly to the people. So we got a lot of applause over the years. We also understand that Australia is doing a lot in the Pacific because apparently a lot of countries, we have this shared vision that we understand the better or secure Indo-Pacific is critical to everybody. So I think that was also the reason Biden administration called for projects like partners in the Blue Pacific. I think that's based on that thought. And Taiwan is an important stakeholder in the Pacific. And we will be more than happy to work with like-minded partner in the region to advance the benefit or the well-being of the Pacific Island.
Well, Douglas Hsu, thank you so much for taking the time to come into the studio tonight. Really appreciate your time and talking to you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.